Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Here we are with episode 74, and today's very special guest is Jesse Adelson. Jesse is a multi-instrumentalist from New York City, but he plays bass for the band Slashers, also another band called Prostitution, and he works on some of his own solo music. He's a talented multi-instrumentalist, and I was very happy to have him on the show today to discuss an album that was important to him, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. A monumental, massively influential album, and the best-selling debut album of all time, actually, currently. It still holds that title. It was very cool to get into this record. I have a soft spot in my own heart for this album as well. I'm not a huge fan of Guns N' Roses, and I can't say that I honestly knew this entire record going into it, but I grew up with it as well. I mean, Guns N' Roses was the shit band of all, I mean the shit as in a good thing, in a good way. They were the shit, and they were like our generation. Like, me and Jesse are the same age, and, you know, growing up as young kids in the 80s, like, this was the rock music of our generation, really. It was different. It was wild. It was very, very exciting. And we talk about that. We get into it. Jesse's band Slashers will be on tour from the moment you could be listening to this. They should be on tour as of right now while you're listening. So I will include the dates for their tour on the show notes. So if you are interested in checking them out, if you are anywhere else in the country, you have a good shot of being able to catch them, and I encourage you to do so because they are an amazing live band. So the song you've been listening to is the first track off of their new 7-inch album EP, Hang On. The track is called Hang On. At the end of the episode, I include a small section of the second song off of that EP, Snap My Neck. So let's just get right into it. Awesome band, awesome live show. I encourage you all to go see them, please, because they're on tour, and as we all know, bands on tour, they need the support. They have a few copies of the 7-inch vinyl left, so if you do get to see them, I encourage you to go pick that up from them. And I'm sure that they have their other full-length album as well. Probably plenty more. Just throw your money at them, please. You know, it'll help. They'll appreciate it, I'm sure. And all that we ask that you do here is please do all the things you do with the internet. Like, share, comment, rate, review, subscribe. That's another big one. Subscribing and rating, reviewing. That helps us out very much, and it costs you nothing. So by all means, please do that if you enjoy the show. I very much thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you'd like to learn more about us and our show, psychicstatic.net is the way to do that. And if you care to support us financially, if you go to that website, you can purchase anything off the website, and it helps us out. You can purchase any releases that I put out for the Hammer Party or any of their merch, any of my merch for Psychic Static or Vinyl and Vision, and just check out the record store. There's a bunch of records I have listed up there. Also a link to the eBay store that I use, where most of the new stuff that I get goes to. And anything in it through any of those places is a help to us, and I encourage you to do so, and I thank you very much. Without further ado, folks, here's the show. Yeah, man. And you feel comfortable?
Yeah, it's on my desk. I'm sitting at my desk. I got
Cool.
like my little art desk that I have in my room. It's got all my stickers and a million pens and markers. I draw and write, excuse me, every day. So I usually start my mornings just sitting at the desk,
Yeah,
writing down whatever's on my brain. It's like my own therapy.
that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you typically write? Like prose, or is it just like diary entry, or?
Yeah, like kind of a stream of conscious.
Oh,
Sometimes some song lyrics, but I have these little moleskin books.
yeah.
And I've been keeping these for about 14 plus years now, and have over 430 of them. It's all,
Jesus.
yeah, it's all like I have pretty crazy small handwriting. I kind of write like my grandma. I'll show you. So like, I'm kind of like
Wow.
tiny stuff, but it's a lot of like little like line drawings also. Kind of just um I don't know. I find it's like a good way also, instead of like always going to my phone, which I'm on too much probably also, but instead of being like,
Right.
oh, I just looked at my phone. What am I even picking this up for? I could sit down and just write and draw, and it's like keeps me busy. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Of
Sometimes
course.
it's just something nice and different to do.
Yeah, and you come up with something like kind of amazing every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, recently got to show some of the work at my friend's art gallery. They were in between shows and they were throwing a little beginning of the summer party.
Nice.
So I played some solo music and I showed my books, and it was like my first art show. It was kind of cool.
That's great. Your first
Yeah,
art show.
it was pretty fun. Yeah, I eventually we'll do something bigger, but this was just kind of quick. Like it was up for a month in Greenpoint in Brooklyn. Um,
Yeah.
it was
What
pretty
kind
cool.
of what was the medium?
It's just literally on these books, and I just had them open and I clipped them to a wall, and I picked like my favorite 16 drawings, and I didn't even go back in my books. I like chose the books that were just sitting on my desk and just
Oh yeah.
flipped open to a page and like clipped them onto the wall, and they were up there for
Cool.
people to check out. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nice, man. Yeah, because something I didn't know about you when I first met you, you're like in a lot of different bands and projects and stuff.
Yeah, I play in historically two, but I've done at the most three at one time. I have two full bands right now, and I also do solo stuff too. It's more like a singer songwriter, kind of storyteller music,
Yeah.
a little bit more like Billy Bragg, White Stripesy kind
Yeah,
of
I've
stuff like
listened.
that.
Yeah, I listened to it. It was on
Cool.
SoundCloud.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's pretty fun stuff. It's a little more challenging because I feel like whenever I do the band element, that's I'm like, oh, they're just people. Everybody's watching those guys, and I'm used to playing in bands, so doing the solo thing just with the guitar and singing, it feels a little more naked.
I
Uh,
bet. Yeah.
but it's pretty cool, and I'm getting a little more comfortable with it. I did four shows in June, all solo, two at random parties, and then two in venues. So I'm hoping for the fall and the winter to start, booking some more gigs. It also fills another void because with the heavy stuff, you can't play everywhere. You got to play specific venues that can house that kind of music.
Right.
So it's nice to be able to play, a coffee shop or somewhere just a little bit mellow. It's just another outlet.
Yeah, man. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. That sounds great. I mean, I admire it. I love that you do not only so many projects to keep yourself busy, but such unique projects too. They're very different. Slashers being like kind of hardcore punk
Hmm.
thrash kind of.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Um, and then I found your other bands, Prostitution and Beast Modulus.
Yeah, Beast Modulus isn't around anymore. That
Oh,
was a
okay.
really, yeah, we stopped playing about 2 years ago. No one in the band lives in the state anymore. So it
Uh,
was just really everybody. Two out of four of the guys had kids, and one guy lives in Salt Lake now.
hmm.
Another guy lives in, I don't know where. I think Owen lives in Portland now, and someone
Oregon or
else
Maine?
Oregon, Oregon,
Oh, okay.
Oregon,
Yeah, that's difficult.
Oregon. Yeah, and it was pretty cool. We put out an album as we disbanded. So
Oh,
we had our third album was kind of like here's an album and we're done, which was kind of nice, a nice
yeah.
send off. So yeah, that project put out three albums, and it was really cool stuff because it got me into playing some stuff that I've never really tried to play before, very mathy, and the guitar player's riffs. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is kind of new to me. So but it was pretty fun though. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
where did you start out playing music? Like, how did you come to start?
So my father is a pretty well-known jazz musician who plays an instrument called the Chapman stick. It's well, there's a 10-string version. He plays a 12-string version. Um, it's just basically the neck of a guitar with
Hmm.
no body. There's pickups on the bottom, and you tap. You just tap it without strumming.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
bass up top and treble on the bottom strings,
Right, right.
tuned in fourths and fifths. And he's arguably one of, not arguably, he is the world's premier Chapman stick player.
Amazing.
Yeah, one of the most well known, and also just actually talent wise. He's still alive and kicking, and they live in Arizona now, and he's still gigging, playing with some pretty heavy people. So,
Nice.
I was around music my entire life. Did I appreciate as much as I do now when I was a kid? No. A lot of it, I was like, "That's your thing. Leave me alone. I'll do my thing." So sometimes I'm like, "Wow, I really wish I would have paid more attention." Uh,
Yeah, I hear you,
but
man.
he definitely introduced me to a lot of wild things when I was a kid, and I got really lucky that I got to see some amazing acts that I probably shouldn't have seen because I was so young. Where I got to see the Police, Yes, Genesis, Pink Floyd. I got to see a lot of
That's
acts in the
amazing.
'80s that children aren't supposed to be at.
Yeah, but that's cool. I mean, I'm thankful that you had that experience. I think that that must have been cool and really served you well as far as like, what made you who you are now is this, kind of like always working musician, doing the art, doing the writing in the morning, and then all the bands that you've been part of.
Yeah, it is. It took a while to
Crazy.
kick it. Took a while to kick in. I started playing music. I was in like the middle school. Well, I was in the elementary school band. I played flute, and then when I went to middle school, they said boys don't play flute. Pick something else, which
Oh yeah.
was the wrong thing to say then. No one would ever dare say that now to somebody.
Sure.
Um, so I picked the most manly instrument, which was the trombone, which I ended up really loving. And then played trombone for middle school and high school, and then towards the end of high school, met some kids who were kind of into the same music as me, punk and kind of like metal and stuff like that, and we formed a band. So that's kind of where I actually started playing when I was like around 16 is when I was like, oh, I could play with other people and not just like the high school marching bands.
Hmm.
And then I took a long break from that too. In college, I didn't really play much music at all.
Hmm.
Graduated college, played a little bit, but not until like my almost late 20s did I
Hmm.
really take it seriously. And then it took off. The band that was right before Prostitution, what Prostitution became, we started in 2007.
Hmm.
And then some lineup changes, and then Prostitution started in 2009. And then I was hooked. So it's been a steady stream since then,
Yeah, yeah.
for
Well, why don't you
sure.
tell me about Slashers? Because that's the
Yeah.
band that you're going to be going out on tour with very
Yep.
soon.
Yeah. Super fun project. Basically started at a skate park. The premise of the band is that Slashers, a slash grind, is an old school skateboard trick. That everybody in the band had to be a skateboarder and someone who was well versed in the art of skateboarding. No, not like, oh, I own a skateboard or I used to skate.
Right, right.
We
Active skaters.
Right, we lightheartedly make fun of that kind of stuff anyway, and all of our lyrics are not all, but the lyrics that are like about that kind of stuff are kind of a joke, because
Yeah.
everybody's fine in our books. But yeah, our uh, our first drummer, because now we're on our second drummer, our first drummer and our guitarist were come on, everyone kind of knew each other through other bands.
Mm.
So I know the guitarist through his older band that Prostitution used to play with a lot, that was just called Concussion. Uh, and I caught wind of them starting this project. And Blake, the guitar player, one day saw me at a skate park and he was like, Jesse. And we weren't super tight, but we knew each other just from playing other shows together.
Hmm.
Uh, Called me over and he was like, starting up this band. Are you interested? So I said, yeah, that sounds like fun. I didn't, think anything past. Okay, let's get in a room and see what happens. They had
Yeah.
a few songs already written. Simple as in chord structures, but to play them correct, really upbeat, and took me a second. And then we just started jamming them, kind of workshopping them, and by no time we had 6 songs ready to record a demo. And then we just started trying out singers, which is usually the most polarizing aspect of any band. In
Sure.
my eyes, it's either you're amazing or the opposite of that. We'll keep it nice. But usually singers make or break a band. We had a couple people come in that just weren't doing the job. And then our current singer, Jamie, came in and nailed it first try. He was doing like fake stage banter, like on the first rehearsal, just like pretending like it was a show. And we were like, yeah, this guy's got the goods. And then it just
Nice.
kind of took off from there. Like I said, we're on our second drummer now because our first drummer started the family and just didn't really have the time
Oh, yeah.
to do what we wanted to do. Yeah, it was all amicable. Just people, life changes and things go different ways sometimes. So
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, hey, I've lived it myself.
Of course, of course.
I'm just past that hump, I think.
We all have, and it's really funny. Right before that happened, someone had asked us about something like that, and we were like, "Oh yeah, it's the original lineup. We don't think we'll ever have, this'll always be like the core group of guys." And then like 2 weeks later, we're like, "Uh-oh, I think we need a new drummer."
Yeah.
And then an angel, a drummer skater angel, fell from the sky named Ziggy from Providence.
Oh yeah.
Someone who had very big shoes to fill, and somehow it's never easy to find all the pieces to the puzzle, especially to fill in someone, the right person. And somehow Ziggy came across us, and here we are.
And it was a perfect fit.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm still amazed at how we found him. And
it's
just,
a lot of criteria to check. That's a lot of boxes to check.
It
Skater,
is.
drummer,
Yeah,
must be willing to travel.
The drummer's the hardest part usually, because drummers are just so hard to find. There's a million guitar players, but no one plays drums that well. And then you have to skate. And then when he first hit us up, it's funny because I have another friend in Providence who I was thinking about, but I was like, he's not going to come all the way from Providence here. And then Ziggy, who his name's Matt O'Brien. He runs Focal, which I believe is in Pawtucket.
Okay.
Nice guy. I met him at the Funky Jungle a while ago
Nice.
when Prostitution played there. But so Ziggy hit us up, and I was like, oh wow, someone from Providence. I was like, sure, like have him come down. And the second he did and started counting off 1, 2, 3, 4, we were like, oh my God, like, please be the guy. And we haven't skipped a beat.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah,
so
cool.
The upcoming tour, how extensive is this tour? How many dates are you doing?
Pretty deep. So it's not a terribly long period of time. I think it's 17 dates, which is pretty nice, but it's 17 dates in a row. We have no days off.
Oh, nice.
Every night. And I know at least one of the days we're playing a matinee as well at a skate park in Pittsburgh. And then we're also doing a night show. So it's at least 18 shows in 17 days. And I think we're slated to even do another matinee. So it will be busy.
Punk as fuck.
Punk as fuck. That's right. But I'm into it. We're on the road. And if we can play, as long as it's the right situation, we should.
Sure.
I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was almost like equating it to salesmen in the 60s who would go like door to door and be like, would you like to buy this vacuum cleaner, or whatever people used to buy door to door. Knife salesman or something like that. Right. Anything antiquated, because now if someone's knocking at your door, you're like, get the hell out. What are you doing?
Ooh, people are brutal.
Right. But so I was kind of looking at this tour as like that. Also, maybe it's because of some of the territory we're covering. So it's kind of Midwest and very like American cities: Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Chicago, Cincinnati, going as far down as Atlanta, Louisville, Asheville. So we're kind of just knocking on each city's door and saying we're a band. We haven't played most of these places before. There's one or two that we have done Atlanta and Richmond, and I think that's it. I think everything else is going to be new besides besides our home tour kickoff also. But
and how long have you guys been around since? What year did you start?
Started in May the first show ever was early March 2017.
Okay. So
and we had
been a few years.
We had been a band for about 3 or 4 months. Yeah, I'd say about 5 years.
Nice.
And we had Shane, our original drummer, for 4 of those years. Well, 3, and then COVID happened. So there was kind of we always forget. We always forget there was like a year and a half where not much went on in the entertainment industry.
Everyone went into retirement for a brief period of time.
Yeah, it was part of it was not none of it was nice, but it was a change of pace.
Sure.
Where for a while everyone definitely kept their distance, and we just talked, but there was no band practice, definitely no shows. And then when we figured it was safe to meet up again, we started meeting outside just to talk. And then one day we were just like, all right, let's get in the room and keep it going.
Let's get in the room and breathe heavy.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. It gets sweaty. And Shane had his kid right when COVID first hit. So we were going to take a break anyway, but that became a very long break. Um, and then when we kind of reconfigured, it was like, okay, let's figure out what to do. And again, family first. So he definitely decided to do that, and we just amicably moved on. And Ziggy fell from the sky. I thought it was going to take a long time to find a new drummer. I think we tried out one other person, and it was like the same day we tried Ziggy. This one kid came in, and it was like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
this is going to be a long process.
Night and day, man, right?
And then later in the day, Ziggy came in, and I was like, oh my God. Like somehow we found someone to fill Shane's shoes, which seemed nearly impossible because of how great Shane was for the band, also being one of the founding members.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was kind of his brainchild. Uh, a great drummer and a great skater, just a good like community person who knew everybody. He definitely helped us get some of our bigger gigs when we were first starting out. Sometimes it's who you know, and
Oh, yeah.
him through one of his other bands, Hightower, which is kind of like a legendary skate rock band from San Francisco. That
Mhm.
definitely opened up some doors for us. So definitely a lot of credit goes his way.
Cool, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, speaking of the band Slashers, you guys have like what's your newest record? You have the 7-inch single, right?
Yeah, hang on. So I believe there are two songs on that. We
Yeah.
recorded four. Uh, it was kind of just it's supposed to be originally as a demo, and we liked the way it sounded. And this label, kind of a more of like a distro out of. It's a good question. I'm not even sure where they're located. I should probably know these details. Said, hey, we'll put out a 7-inch for you guys. We're like, okay, we didn't want to put out anything from the first album because that was already pressed. We did that ourselves. The first album was uh, a full length 12 songs that we put out ourselves. So we had these songs and we are like, all right, do you want these? And they listened to them and they were like, these are excellent. Choose two. So they
Hmm.
put out that 7-inch for us. And the same company label, and if you give me a second, I'll go look over there. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now.
Sure.
They're putting out a comp, I think later this year or early next year, and another song's going to be on that as well, or another two songs. So all
Oh,
four songs will be used.
nice.
Um, and yeah, we just started playing the other two out live. I think our last show as well. So this tour, we plan on having uh, all what is that 12 plus 16 songs in the fold now. So hopefully we can mix and match sets a little bit also and not just play the same set every night,
Yeah.
which is nice just to diversify a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, of
it's
course.
every show, no one's going to know the songs for the most part anyway, but just more for us. We're like, all right, let's like switch it up a little bit and,
Right. Yeah.
just to feel it out a little bit more.
It's always nice to
Um,
have a whole variety of songs to choose from too, because you guys know which ones are the most powerful songs, that you have the most
that's right.
fun playing.
Right.
So,
And sometimes also depending on who we're going to play with. So since the band has kind of a few different sounds, or some of the songs are a little more catchy and melodic, some of the songs have more of a thrash, like heavy element to them. So if
mm,
we're on a bill with a bunch of heavier bands, we might choose those songs because, maybe more people might be like, oh, I like that kind of music better. Or if we're playing with, some more like poppy punk bands and stuff like that, we might choose some of the lighter stuff.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's nice to have
Variety.
a little bit of variety. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
man,
pretty
of
nice.
course.
But that 7-inch kind of just came together really fast. And when they said they were going to put it out for us, who's going to say no to that? They didn't
Oh, of
want to. They
course.
didn't want to own the songs either. They said we'll just put out one pressing. We'll give you a bunch of copies, and we'll sell the rest through our label and distro. And I think it was a pressing at 300. I would say at least half are gone already.
Yeah.
We
Great.
only have about 10 or 15 left in our hands,
Oh
which
man.
I'm sure will be gone by the end of this tour. So I'm keeping one copy for myself.
Right. Yeah, of course. You gotta. Well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good. I'm glad that you're selling out of them, and unfortunately, there's not too much for the road, but yeah, you'll definitely sell all those.
We'll either repress it or what we plan on doing is the two songs on that plus the other two we're going to include on our next full length,
Yeah.
which is almost done being written. I think we have another six, so we like to our goal is for 12 songs,
Yeah.
so we have 10. I think by fall we'll be done writing, and hopefully winter and spring, and the goal is by next summer to have another full length ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the
Man,
goll.
yeah, you guys are doing it. That's
we're
that's
tr-
for
we're
sure.
we're trying. It's life gets in the way. You know, I think everybody still has day jobs. We're not ready
Yeah.
to be like, oh, we're only a band, let's only do this. So
Right.
sometimes it's a little difficult to all get together. But this tour is going to be great because we'll be together for 17, 18 days in a row. Kind of want to bring an acoustic guitar if we have room in the van. Just
Oh
to
yeah.
That's how I write all my songs on acoustics. It
Sure.
seems like the best way to actually hear it with clarity instead of just throwing distortion on everything.
Yeah. Especially in
Like
the van. You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah.
yeah, and drive some people crazy by playing like share covers. It'll be great.
That sounds fun, man.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Um, so I love that what you're talking about. That kind of it reminds me of being on tour and being in a band because I haven't been in one for quite some time now. But that just there's nothing that feels like that being out on the road with
Hmm.
your buddies, just looking forward to the next show. And it's really kind of seems kind of similar to the record we're supposed to talk about tonight because you chose Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I know you told me that you have read one of the books. What did you read Duff's book?
Yeah, I read Duff's book. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Was a pretty easy read. I
Hmm.
keep on meaning to read Slash's book. I always forget that it
Yeah,
exists.
it's
And
pretty good.
I'm sure I'm a pretty slow reader too. I do because I'm a high school music teacher.
Yeah,
I do tend to read music biographies. One for my own knowledge, and two, I can always bring them into the classroom
yeah,
and just share stories about it. So I once I finish this book I'm reading right now, I think it's called "We Got the Neutron Bomb." It's about the '80s, '70s, and '80s punk scene in Los Angeles,
huh,
and how it kind of mirrored the punk scene in New York. So it's kind of like the "Please Kill Me"
sure.
of Los Angeles
Oh, nice.
and in California. So it's pretty interesting. A lot of name dropping. So I'm like, it's a very slow read. Every page is like name, 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 name. I'm like, okay, I
Right.
got some of these people.
Yeah, yeah,
And the best part about it, and then we can jump to the other thing, is the first
sure.
band mentioned in the book is the band Sparks,
Oh, yeah,
who I absolutely adore and kind of found out about only the past few years.
yeah,
And I
yeah. Me
mean,
too.
they're so influential and did so much.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're kind of looked over by history. I still haven't watched that documentary that is on Netflix yet,
I haven't either. Yeah,
but I saw them at Town Hall this year in New York City, and they still got it. And you hear Devo, you hear ELO, you hear all these important bands, and they kind of did it first. So I was like,
yeah.
they're the first name in the book. I was like, oh my god, Sparks, I know them.
Amazing, man.
Very
Yeah.
cool, very cool. But yeah, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously much more straight than the guys in Guns N' Roses were. The like those books, I would not recommend you bring those to school.
No, no, I wouldn't bring this up. Yeah, it's just
The
yeah,
stories in
def
there are kind of
are
intense.
are wild, and I'm assuming pretty accurate. Maybe embellished a little bit because when you write your own book, an autobiography, that's what that's called, right? You
Yeah,
kind of be like, look at what I did, look at me in my heyday. But
sure.
I mean, I believe it. I believe they lived that life, especially at that time, because that's
Yeah.
when in the '70s and the '80s. That's when so much money, even in I guess the '90s too, so much money was being pumped into music, and
Hmm.
like the record contracts that people were getting. I mean, I guess there's drugs in music now today also, but just it was so like opulent at that time.
Yeah.
So being like a hair metal band, they're kind of like a hair metal rock and roll band in the '80s. You had it all, and you had all the chances to fuck up. You
Yeah.
had like
Oh
every
yeah.
drug at your feet. You had every like girl throwing themselves at you. Every being like, fly here, do this, do that, do that. And you
Right.
like when you're kind of young and impressionable, and you have all these like new things, you're like, okay, I can't
Yeah.
say that I would not have fallen into that years ago. Now I'm a little bit older and wiser, and I know how to prolong my life and stay healthy.
Yeah.
But
And you
yeah,
want to. You've changed that world view of yours by this
oh
point.
yeah, definitely. I'm 42 years old. I'm actually the oldest guy in Slashers now. The old
Oh
drummer
yeah.
was older than me. Yeah,
Oh, the
yeah.
old guy. All right. Go
Ziggy's the
ahead.
baby. He'll be 30 at the end of this year. But yeah, everybody else is not not too much younger than me. But yeah, I'm the old guy.
Cool, man. Hey, that's great though. I love to see that you're out there still doing it, you know?
Yeah, if
Not
you
that 42 is even old. I'm 42, man. I mean, like
yeah,
I don't
I know
feel
it's a
that bad.
solid age. 1980 was a good year.
Yeah, no, it
Uh,
was great.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we got it turned on to a lot of great music, you know? I mean, for the most part, I'm so your experience, speaking of the 80s, like when did you first hear this record?
So I believe it came out officially in 1987, but it wasn't like a smash hit right away. I was also only 7 years old, so I had no idea what was like popular or cool.
Right.
So I believe 1988 is when it like really like hit the masses and everybody was like talking about it. And I don't remember how I got my eyes on it, but like I said, because my father was in music,
Yeah.
I just always had music around my house. So even before that, he would show me these bands. I remember him talking to me about Slayer, and I don't. Slayer's fine. I'm not a huge fan, but I remember him showing that to me at 5 or 6 years old, and it was more just like, how crazy is this? And I was like, oh my god, that's like insane. Not even understanding what was happening, just hearing
Right.
like these screams and these crazy guitars, and I was like, ha! I was probably like laughing, thinking it was like fun, like I was being tickled or something. He'd put that on, and then he'd put a crazy jazz record on, and so
Hmm.
I was just kind of always around uh, music. Yeah, like I said, like I saw Yes probably 6 times before I was 10 years old. And like now I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Then I was probably like, this is too long. I just want to go home. Like
Yeah, might
3 hour
have been
cons. I didn't appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. I had um an allowance at the time, whatever that nominal fee was of me being an okay boy at that age.
sure.
And my mom was showing houses. She was a real estate agent at the time, still is. That was early in her career as a real estate agent. And
Hmm.
before she was showing a house, we stopped at a music store. Now I can't remember if it was either the Wall. Remember those stores, the Wall, or there was like a
No, this
independent.
is New York, right?
This is in New York. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
like a local chain called the Wall. I don't know how much further
No.
their reach was.
Yeah, I don't
It
think I
was either
remember him.
that or there was a an independent music store in Oceanside, Long Island that had all these crazy metal posters and Samantha Fox posters. And so it was one of those two
Nice.
stores. Yeah, yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I remember going to that store many times, just look at the posters. Um, but we stopped at one of those stores before she showed the house. And I guess officially it's the first thing I ever bought with my own money. It was my parents' money giving it to me as my allowance, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
technically
But you earned
technically
it. Yeah.
I earned it by being such a great child. So I bought that. Um, it wasn't the first piece of music I ever owned. I owned a 7 inch called Toy Soldiers by Martika, who was like a pop star in the
Hmm.
80s. It's a pretty
Okay.
one hit wonder. Cool song.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it. That I remember being my first like record. That and like Abbott and Costello. I used to listen to like weird like comedy. I had a record player in my room as a kid. So
Yeah.
it's cool. I'd still go to sleep. My dad would like put whatever he felt like putting on. It was like I had like an album, the Chipmunks cover album that we listened to like probably too much, which explains a lot. Anyhow, got that tape, and then my mom drove to wherever she was showing the house, and I waited in the car and put the tape on, and then like
All by
it all,
yourself.
yeah, I just literally sitting there in the passenger seat, pop the tape in, and it must have been she must have been showing the house for a while. I mean, when someone's buying a house, sometimes viewings could be over an hour
Sure.
because I definitely got to listen to the entire tape because I remember hearing the last song and with the tape, obviously, as you know, like you're gonna play side one and then now all of a sudden you're at the beginning of side two, and I wasn't for the first time fast forwarding anything, so I must have listened to the entire album because I
Hmm.
specifically remember uh, certain sounds in Rocket Queen, which is the last track, triggering some strange emotions in me, which we could talk about, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, this is wild stuff."
That's great, man. Yeah. So, you know what? Because you told that story, let's listen to a little bit of the first song. All right.
Let's do it.
I think we just had to get to that point at least. We
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah. Of course.
you gotta like. I don't even want to say that. I might be very inappropriate talking about this record. I'll just say that now. I was about to say something that I think may have not gone over so great. So, man, yeah, welcome to the jungle. I can't imagine you sitting in that car by yourself as a 7-year-old, and then that just comes on right into that,
Yeah,
and it just
what a
didn't
heavy
stop.
song.
Yeah.
Um, it's just it's so aggressive. I remember, and I don't remember each track as I heard it for the first time. I mean, now I have a specific memory with each track with that album, but I just remember thinking it was so raw and so like uninhabited. I was just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, what's it had so much power behind it.
Right.
It also, I probably didn't understand these feelings, but like I mentioned in the last song, Rocket Queen, there's moaning.
Oh yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, why do I like this? Again, at 7 years old, I don't know how much you understand about your own sexuality, but something
Yeah.
about it uh, made me really drawn to it. Speaking of that, I heard that, I don't know if I have the facts totally straight. I heard that's a real recording of one of the band members sleeping with one of the other band
Oh
members' like
yeah.
girlfriend at the time. That's
Yeah.
right, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Axel with Slash's girl or something like that. Or
Axel with well, what I read in Slash's book, I think it's that Axel was dating this girl who used to date Steve Adler. It's not like she
okay,
was dating
okay,
him like in immediate
currently,
succession.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. So it's not as like,
taboo.
yeah, taboo.
Yeah,
But yeah, but it's still pretty fucked up to do it in the studio. I mean, like
yeah.
they were doing the mixing and they were just listening to that part and they were like, "Oh, make that like I think that just needs one more thing." And
And that's the thing.
that's what he
It,
suggested.
it worked
Yeah.
for me. It worked for me because I definitely remember being like, and I also remember when it was on, like looking out the window and being like, "Oh my God, I hope my mom like doesn't walk in the car at this point,"
Right.
because like I would have been so embarrassed to like
Right.
have her hear that, even though she's wide open with music. Also, she's especially being with my dad for now
Sure.
46 years, a music lover, and doesn't, there was never what's the word? They never cared about what I watched and listened.
Sure.
They just, when you raise a kid, you got to care a little bit about what the kid's into.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of stuff that you kind of don't want them to be
Right.
exposed to, but music, I mean, even as like uh raw and like kind of explicit this record can get. I mean, and listening to it as a kid, like what I was going to ask you when you were mentioning when you're describing listening to and what you were hearing, like for the first time, how did you know that it was so raw? Like compared to what, like Alvin and the Chipmunks and Abbott and Costello?
Yeah, I
Like
don't
you
know.
didn't listen to anything else prior to it, like
I
well,
no, I
except what your
just
dad was showing you, I guess.
right, just something about it just seemed so powerful. Also, the album artwork
Oh yeah,
was so wild. The original cover had that, which I believe is the name of that picture, Appetite for Destruction,
right.
had that giant robot with the scantily clad woman on the floor.
Yeah.
Uh, but the cover I got was the classic one with the cross and the skeletons on it. So
Mm-hmm.
right at that, I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool!" And then I opened it up and saw that other picture on the inside. I was like, "Oh my God, like this is crazy!" Might have been one of the first times I'd ever seen a boob.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably. I mean, granted, it's illustrated, but still, a boob is a boob.
But yeah, for
40,
a little boy, it's a
42 year
boob.
old me still gets excited by illustrated boobs, so that's a different podcast. But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, just the mix of everything, the way it sounded. Uh, I think I got home and just went and right away tried to find, or probably not find because there was no internet. Just wait to watch one of the videos that like hopefully it would come up. I don't know if it was
Hmm.
on Headbangers Ball or whatever. It was probably MTV. There was no other way but just to wait for it to come on.
Right.
I don't remember what videos came first. I don't know if it was Welcome to the Jungle was the first release or Paradise City. I don't
Welcome to the Jungle was the first.
was the first release.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
might as well start off with the title track, I guess. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It was good intro too. I mean, like I remember seeing that video and like I actually just watched it again yesterday.
cool.
And just to compare it to what I remember it as, and it's actually it holds up pretty
It
well. I
holds up.
mean,
It does.
yeah.
It does. I still love. I mean, it's as cheesy as it is. The Paradise City video is amazing, where it goes double time at the end and
Oh, it's
Slash
so
rips like a
exciting.
crazy solo. It's so
Yeah.
exciting, and I remember watching that in my parents' house, and every time I would just put the volume all the way up and just hold the remote down as like hard as possible. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's hard not to freak out on that song, man. Like if you're really listening to it, like you can't help it. It's just so fucking infectious. It's crazy.
Yeah, the whole album. I mean, the reason why I chose that album, there I do have a few other albums that I was thinking about, but uh there's not a weak song on the album. I even like the B songs that didn't have like weren't like smash hits. To me, are almost better than the A-list songs.
Yeah.
The only song I have a problem with, and just because I think it's too played out, is "Sweet Child of Mine."
Hmm.
I've just heard it too many times and too many like college bars, and then there was the
Yeah.
Sheryl Crow version of it, and it's just like
Oh
a little,
no, really?
yeah, it hurt a little bit, hurt a little bit, but it's still a great song, and I got to see them last year for the first time. So I've seen a lot of bands, but that was one I had never seen.
Hmm.
Uh, Slashers did a little tour last summer, and on the way home from, I think it was Providence, they were playing in New Jersey, and the singer and I dropped the gear off and just jumped on a train and went to go see them at what's it called, the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and it was great to check that one off the list. And Sweet Child of Mine slayed. It was great. I was like, I mean, they played most of the songs that you want to hear,
Yeah.
except they didn't play "Don't Cry," and I wanted to hear that. But yeah, so even the song that I'm like kind of tired of live was like phenomenal and like really emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to finally see them. It's interesting to see a band so many years later. Obviously, it would have been great to see them in 1988.
Sure.
So it's the energy's different. They're older, but Duff and Slash, who are the guys I want to see, are at the top of their game. And Axel wasn't terrible; he was fine. It's
Yeah.
good
Singing
enough. I
good.
mean, considering what he's been through and those crazy years he had in like the 2000s,
Sure.
he's doing all right. He's had a weird life.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Um. Well, that's great, man. Getting back to the song, to
Yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle.
So, yeah.
Let's see. So, Welcome to the Jungle was this song is based on a brief encounter Axel had with a homeless man in NYC upon taking his first steps off a bus. Do you know the story?
I've heard of it, but I'd like to hear it again
Okay.
if you have any more to light the shed on it.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, like ultimately, like ending up in LA, but NYC being where you reside, and definitely considered one of the most difficult places to live, especially in the early '80s. Um, I guess people would sometimes refer to that as the concrete jungle, right? New York
yeah,
City.
it still is. I was in the city today. I took a bike ride up to the Met, the museum, and back. Obviously, the city has changed a lot.
Sure,
Some for the better, some not so much for the better. Now it's very hard for a common person to live here.
sure. That
It's the
scares the
red.
shit out of me.
I mean, everywhere rent's too damn high, but New York City is crazy, and just the price of food. Literally, the second you step over the bridge, um, I live in Brooklyn in Williamsburg, right before the city, and like an apple is double the price the second you get over the bridge. So just everything is more expensive. Everything is
Yeah,
more fast paced. In the mid '90s, so if that song was written in, let's say, 85, 86, if it came out 87
hmm,
or around then,
yep,
New York was a tough place. I remember with my parents driving me around in the city when we'd be in Midtown, they would tell me to put my head down from the window so I didn't like see the prostitutes walking up and down the street because I was too young for it.
right,
But in the '90s, a pretty shitty person, the mayor at the time, Giuliani, really cleaned up the city. So some of it was okay. He's a terrible person, but some of New York got a little bit nicer.
mm,
But with that came a lot of gentrification, uh, and a lot of loss of the arts too. So there used to be, and there is again now, street musicians everywhere.
hmm,
But in the '80s, as a kid, every corner had the most amazing street musicians. It was just rife with just street musicians everywhere and just like street culture. And then they kind of got rid of that a lot. It kind of became more of a police state
yeah,
up until probably 9/11, and then everything changed.
got
And it became
worse.
this ultimate police state. Couldn't do anything. Everything was checked. And then I will say, not that, I guess you got to take positives away where you can. COVID actually got the city to relax a little bit. It became empty for a while. I
Oh yeah,
spent I spent the pandemic biking and skating around a completely empty, what felt like post-apocalyptic Manhattan, where you would bike through Midtown on Fifth Avenue, and there wouldn't be one person or one car.
yeah,
And I don't wish the pandemic to happen ever again, but there was something very special and quiet and a
yeah,
once in a lifetime about it, especially in a place like New York that is so hectic. So I can totally see where Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, yeah, you step outside and it's just honk honk, this, that, people cursing each other, spitting, throwing trash on the floor. It's pretty heavy out there.
yeah,
It's a
man.
wild town. Yeah,
That's what I was wondering. Because like I'm
yeah.
sure you love it. You love it in your city, but how do you avoid having it bring you to your knees?
I get out when I can. So I'm born and raised here. I was born
Yeah.
in Brooklyn and then grew up in a town called Long Beach, which is a nice little seaside town in Long Island. But then I've been back in Brooklyn for the past 21 years. And it definitely can bring you to your knees if you don't have a chance to get out. I have a car. So when I have a
Nice.
chance, yeah, it's a luxury to have a car in New York, but I've lived here long enough where I've figured out how to have it where it doesn't drive me nuts looking for parking and this and that. So,
Sure.
yeah, like yesterday, I drove to the beach and just driving 40 minutes outside of the city, sitting on the beach and staring at the ocean changes everything. And then you
Yeah.
get to come back. I'm also a teacher, so I have summers off, so I get to travel. So not just summers off, I have Christmas vacation off. I have what we call President's Week, which is in February, a week off, spring break.
Right.
So I'd say about, and this is very fortunate. I feel very lucky and grateful to be able to do this. 3 times a year, I'm on a plane to go somewhere and clear my head. And sometimes those places are major cities too. I'll go to Barcelona, which is not calm, uh,
Sure.
but it's
Yeah.
just getting
It's
out of your
different
element.
for sure.
Yeah, and then the best part about it is I get to come back to New York City. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I'm sure there's nice places everywhere you live, but if you're living in Des Moines, Iowa, and you're coming back to Des Moines, Iowa, you go, all right. At least I come back here and like the
Sure.
life I've also set up for myself here and with my friends and my family and my bands and my skate community. But when I'm flying somewhere on my way back, I get so excited that I'm like, oh my God, I'm coming back to New York and I just can't wait to just like jump into the city and just like get right back at it.
Yeah.
And then I do have those moments where I go, what am I doing? When am I going to leave?
Sure.
It's time for a change, and I'm sure that will happen at a later point in life. Could always
Yeah.
leave and come back. Doesn't have to be forever.
Of
No,
course.
no decision is final. One decision is final. Besides that, everything else is you can go back. But it is a tough city. I see a lot of people who move here find it to be a little too much, depending on your
Oh yeah.
mental state. I'm a pretty frenetic person and can kind of match the energy, or the energy matches me. I'm not sure. Um, but it can be a lot. And they always say, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of true. It's pretty tough here. Um, and, it depends on your financial situation. It depends on your job. I love my job, which is a great thing for me to say and a great thing for me to hear myself say.
Hmm.
I get to teach music to kids, and they keep me young, and they get me excited about New York, which is why I also think it's such a special place. It's such a bubble, which
Yeah.
some of the growth kids these days, this and that. My
Yeah.
students are the coolest kids on the planet. So when I'm like kids these days, I'm like kids these days are cool and
Right.
excited and accepting and not.
What ages are you teaching?
It's high school, so it's around 13 to
Okay.
18.
Sure.
They're not jaded. They're hungry. They're talented. They're way more accepting of people being different than the way kids were when I went to high school.
Yeah.
If you were gay or black or different than the cool white kids in the school,
Oh
there was going to
yeah.
be a problem, and people were going to get picked on or into fights. There was tons of racial tensions in my high school.
Mm.
Not to say that that's gone, and I'm sure, in I don't know, Missouri, I'm sure that's still
Yeah. It's
a,
still
a
kicking
big
around.
problem. But in New York, at least in my school, because I can only talk about what I see,
Yeah.
it's really positive. It's amazing. Everyone's so accepting of each other, and just like everyone's on the same team human being,
Yeah.
just cool with each other. It doesn't matter. Like kind of like the weirder you are, the better. And that's kind of just the way culture's gone. Maybe it's just us getting older, but the things that I've loved my whole life, skateboarding and like kind of extreme music that I was ostracized for as a kid, are now like the cool things. I'm like, what happened? Um, what happened was video games.
Yeah. You think it was video games did it?
I really think that the Guitar Hero games and the Tony Hawk like Pro Skater games changed the way. Not everybody, because that's not everybody's favorite game,
Sure.
but it really gave people access. I have students asking me how to play Metallica and Dragon Force songs. I love Dragon Force, by the way. But they would have never have known about this music, but they're all gamers because
Oh,
video
and they're
games, video games are the new way to make money in music, and they sell. So when a song comes
Right.
out now, no one's making any money unless you're touring. Everyone just listens to it on Spotify or rips it somewhere for free.
Right.
But when a video game comes out, the new Grand Theft Auto, you can't get that for free, and that will sell 2 million copies the first week it's out. But records don't go platinum anymore. I
Right.
think Frozen was actually the last. Don't quote me on that, but I think Frozen was the last album that went platinum,
Oh, really?
which is already like 4 or 5 years old. People have come close. Maybe Jay-Z or Beyonce came close or did it, but not the way
Hmm.
albums used to sell, right?
Right.
But video games still sell like that. So if you have a song that's on a soundtrack of the next skate game or the next, I'm not a gamer, so I don't even know what the new games are too much.
Yeah, not really. Me
But
neither. Just
it's a great way to gain access into households and ears. And I have students coming in. A lot of the songs my kids ask me how to play are either
mm.
from video games, or I have a lot of students also into anime. So they'll
Oh,
say, what's the theme? What's this theme song? And usually the theme songs are kind of like heavy metal, like MIDI inspired songs, which are pretty
hmm.
cool. And they'll
Yeah.
ask me to play like the hardest songs. I'm like, I'm good, but I'm not like, give me a second. You should be able to play that. You're a teacher. I'm like, hold on.
Right. Yeah. No, there's only so much you can do. That's for sure.
Yeah. And it
Well,
takes a second to listen,
yeah, yeah, and to learn, I imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on what it is, that whatever
Yeah.
pieces you're having to
Yeah.
be exposed to, I can only imagine.
Exactly.
So, let's say moving on to the next song. It's so
Mhm.
easy.
Yeah. It's a good one.
All right, it's so easy. Sure, sure, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So that was I believe that's the name of Duff's book, correct?
yeah. It's so
Uh,
easy. And other lies. It's
and
the
Other
full
lies.
title.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So even in that title, sometimes I'm like, is everything in here true? Is a couple of things I don't remember. I read it about 2 years ago. There was a few like what seemed to be like embellishments, and he was like almost like wink, wink, like this happened ish.
Oh,
um,
I think, like in like legitimate kind of jest, he did that, like kind of one of those, nods or winks, and
to lie. Yeah.
but I think that, yeah, well, yeah, like some embellishments or something. But I don't know. I mean, because between both of the books, Duff's and Slash's, I haven't finished either of them, but I've gotten both like to the basically the same point on both of them.
Yeah.
And so some of the stories actually do corroborate.
Overlap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'll
Go
talk
more
about lies another time.
another time. That's next time. Yeah. Yeah. That
Um,
album did not sell as well as Appetite at all, because it was kind of
oh
a
no.
weird like. Yeah. That's it's funny because this band doesn't have much material at all. They have
No.
Appetite for Destruction, and then they have the double album,
They have
Use
three
Your
major
Illusions,
albums. Yeah.
and that's it. Because
Yeah.
then the other stuff is like covers and like kind of what is it, the Spaghetti Incident, and the other one is
And the
Chinese
band, like,
Democracy.
right, and the
Yeah,
band was dissolving, like there was no real like members left, and they
no,
weren't really talking to each other.
so they probably have 25 songs like that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's it. And like, and to me, Use Your Illusions 1 and 2. If you put those records together, there's one really good record on there. There's a lot of like filler that's like okay.
Yeah, I never
Um,
really listened to it.
there's some good ones on there, but not.
Right.
It's no Appetite
Sure,
at
sure.
all. Yeah.
So, it's so easy. It's a great song on a very simple level. Seems to have some connection to being in a band, at least to a little bit of a degree. Um, how easy is it to be a slasher?
uh, Both. Sometimes it's easy when you know everyone's running on all cylinders. It's easy when we're on stage because
Yeah,
everybody is just doing the right thing, and like we're just
having a good time.
it's a good band.
Yeah,
Everybody is a good musician. Everyone does their homework. We can show up because we don't get to practice that much with Ziggy living in Providence and just life getting in the way. I'd say we've played more shows with the Ziggy than we've had rehearsals. Not I'd say, definitely we've played more shows. So every show is a rehearsal, and this tour with 18 shows, whatever it is, we're gonna get good. I can't
yeah.
wait to come be done with this tour and be like, all right, like let's never play these songs again and write some new stuff. Um, so it's easy in that regard. It's difficult, like I said, because we get older and time becomes more limited, and there's things you want to do, but you
Mhm.
just can't. We have other worries when you're young, 21 years old. You don't have a care in the world. Every day is just like endless.
Yeah,
Now, in this band, nobody has a kid, but people have complicated relationships. People have work schedules, mortgages to pay. So it's not
sure.
like we could just meet up whenever we want. So sometimes scheduling becomes a little bit difficult.
Yeah,
And we also are all very individual human beings with different personalities. So
Yeah.
sometimes it clashes. At the end of the day, we're still friends, obviously very good friends, and it's all love.
Yeah.
But definitely we get on each other's nerves, and no one's right, no one's wrong. But I'm sure they think I am as annoying as I think they are sometimes.
Of course.
So on every tour, because we've done a few like 10-day tours, there'll always be one day where someone's got an outburst or something, and then but we forgive and forget real fast. Nothing ever carries over. It's not like yesterday you were like this. It's like
Right.
get it
It
off your
blows
chest,
over.
get it off your chest, and in 5 minutes on to the next skate park. Let's eat a burrito. Can't wait to eat all the food across America, like some
Oh yeah.
real trash food. I'm gonna pig out.
Oh
Love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool,
So
man.
it's easy, but it's work, and we also want to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be in some like crappy band that's just like cool, we're in a band. Like I really care about being on stage, and albums too, but I look at every show as an opportunity, and I'm grateful to do it. It's not like I deserve to be up there. So you got to put in the work.
Oh yeah.
Um, and if it pays back in just gratitude, that's enough for me. If money ever comes out of it, sure, but no one in the band is in it for the money. Besides being realistic, if it becomes a job, awesome. We'll deal with that. That bridge when we cross it. But right now, it's just it's a well-oiled machine, and it's a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see what keeps on happening.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah,
me too. I agree. Let's move on to the next song, Night Train.
yeah. So
I imagine you're a drinker, right?
I do drink, probably a
Yeah.
little too much. I handle it quite well, but that's what someone who drinks too much might say. But
Well, I
yeah,
say the same thing, so I might be in the same boat.
yeah. I'm mostly a hard liquor guy. I drink a lot of tequila in the winter, whiskey, and today it's kind of overcast and a little chilly in New York today. So that's why I was like, maybe I'll have a little bit of whiskey.
There you
I'm also
go.
out of tequila tonight. But yeah, I do know Night Train is like a very cheap,
Cheap ass
it's
wine.
cheap ass like wine that they would just like slug behind their like rehearsal space and just like get like blackout drunk on Night Train.
Oh yeah,
Uh, Probably give you like the worst headache. So
I
maybe I'll
bet.
also stay away from that too.
Yeah, I don't think,
Uh,
like I said, I don't think it's worth it, man.
I don't think so. But it would be nice to know what it tastes like, I guess.
Yeah. So the story goes, the band was hanging out one night, cruising down Palm Avenue while drinking Night Train, and spontaneously came up with the lyrics that were later reworked and made the record. A quote from Slash's book goes, "There is an innocent quality to that song. It's a nursery rhyme almost, a cute melody sung by kids on a playground, sinister kids whose playground is a seedy back alley."
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
because they
cool.
must have been pretty young. I don't know their exact age, but I mean,
Late teens
when
and 20s,
yeah,
early
right. And
20s. Yeah.
that's you're a kid. I mean, especially being 42 now, thinking about that lifestyle, especially at that age. And fast paced LA is, just as fast paced as New York is.
I bet.
And LA in the 80s was probably just as gnarly as New York was, with
Yeah.
prostitution and drugs and just like,
Just a lot better
just,
climate, that's all.
yeah, just a better climate. That's right. Just easier to do it outside in the winter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I know being on tour makes you essentially inseparable from the band, but how is the band when not on tour?
Uh, like I previously said, everybody's kind of busy.
Yeah.
So it's a little tricky to meet. When Shane was in the band and everybody lived in New York and close by, we practiced a lot more. That was pre-pandemic times.
Hmm.
The pandemic changed, I think, everybody's life. And now our drummer lives far away. One of the focuses after tour is meeting up more regularly, even if it's not the whole band. So even if just, me and the guitar player can
To
meet up
play or
and
just hang?
to play, to write,
Yeah.
to sit and just, or to game plan, to come up with, our singer is a great photographer and videographer, so he'll make skits. So even if it's like, hey, let's just meet up and like work on a little skit or storyboard something, or come up with some new artwork for merch. There's so many other
Mm,
parts of the band besides the music aspect of it.
right.
So just meeting up more regularly. We For a couple of years we're doing every Monday night, and now we haven't met since our last show, which was in Providence, July 3rd. That was the
Oh,
last
right.
time I saw you. That was
Revival
so that was
Fest.
that
Yeah.
was the last time I've seen any of them. I saw our singer at the beach the other day, but besides that, I've not seen, like, we haven't met. we try to do some video conferencing once in a while if we can, just to get on the same page. So I think
Sure.
later tonight we're gonna do a chat just to be like, all right, got just talk about what we're gonna bring in the van and stuff like that. So
Mm,
I think all of us wish that we met up a little bit more regularly, and I think that is after tour our focus is once school's back, I'll be home more. Once it
hmm.
cools down, you're not running to the beach and staying out all night running around the city. You're staying inside. We just moved into a really nice new rehearsal studio.
Oh yeah.
This will be probably the 10th room I've had in the past 16 years in Brooklyn. And this is by far the nicest and biggest. So we're going to build it out to make it really comfortable.
Mm,
There's even an elevated loft where there's a couch. So it'll be like, okay, you can work on some music and then go upstairs and,
chill.
work on some graphics and draw and like, make it a home. So we're going to spend some time in there and get some work done
Nice.
and crank out the second album. Because the first album's now about 3 years old. So it's time for a new one.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Let's move on to the next song. Out to Get Me.
This is one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Yeah.
Tot.
Out to Get Me. Yeah. Isn't this yeah, this is kind of like Iron Maiden-esque, I feel. Like
It's
I feel like
hot. Yeah. I think it's probably like the most like electrifying song on the album. I'm just
and very
looking at it.
metal though.
It's heavy. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fast. There's, you should watch, I think it's 1987 or 1988 when they were first starting out live at the Ritz. It's their live concert that was recorded.
Yeah.
I think they might start out with Out to Get Me, or maybe that's the second song. And
Yeah.
they're a mess. I mean, Axel doesn't even really finish the show. He like walks off at the end.
Yeah.
It's a
Who
it's a
knows?
wild show, but I think it's like the first three songs are like maybe You're Crazy, Out to Get Me, Night Train. It's the most electrifying show in the world. That's what I want to see. If one day we have VR glasses and I can instantly be put in that room, because I think
Yeah.
that's the future of music in 30 years, where you put on these goggles and you go Queen, Wembley Stadium, 1977, and you're there.
Whoa.
Obviously, it's not
That'd be awesome.
there. It'll happen, and when we're a little bit older, that's the
Huh.
future. Um,
Cool, man.
but Out to Get Me is a hot track. That's a good one.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So oddly enough, though, I mean, it's a great song, obviously, and I really like it too. But basically, this song was inspired by a rape accusation brought on to both
yeah,
Axel and Slash.
uh,
I didn't know that before I
yeah.
read this book, but also loosely based because of Axel's own legal troubles that he had in Indiana prior to moving to Los Angeles. So he was just kind of a troublemaker in general, you know.
Yeah.
I don't take it you were very much of a troublemaker.
A light one. I did all the stupid things that kids
Kids
do
do.
because,
Yeah.
yeah, I grew up and it was only Long Beach was only about 45, 50 minutes from the city. So I definitely still spent a lot of time in the city when I was a kid.
Hmm.
My parents, because they knew I knew the city already, they let me go there at a pretty early age, like 13 years old. I was taking the train into the city, skating around. I still had to be home at a certain time. This before cell phone. So it wasn't like
Oh yeah.
text you, I'll be a little late. It was like be on that freaking train at the right time.
Yeah.
Stupid little things I did. Maybe a little bit of property damage here and there, stealing stupid
Yeah.
things out of stores, but nothing major. I'm
Yeah.
a pretty nice person, and I would never hurt another human being. You know, I'm still not down with major corporations, and everyone should steal from those places. But yeah, I wasn't a terrible troublemaker, but I'm sure I was a handful, just like any other sprite teen.
Yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, I just took you for that. I just because I mean Axel was always really
Yeah.
troublesome. I mean, like he was legally, like I mean, like literally
Yes.
arrested multiple times, and
I yeah, and then I'm sure I don't know exactly his entire home life, but I don't think it was such a great upbringing.
yeah,
Mine was a great upbringing, so I have no excuses for anything. Anything I did, it was not because I learned them from a parent. My parents were saints and amazing human beings, but I definitely you're influenced by your surroundings also, and there's also you want to test the limits when you're a kid too. You want
yeah,
to like see how hot something can get, how high could you jump off something, does this thing catch on fire?
right. But
Sometimes it does.
you also weren't limited either. Like it
Right.
seems that your father, your father, at least your father was very nurturing with you to the point where he was just like showing you music constantly, just to know that he's you're going to absorb something eventually and somehow
Mhm.
like just and obviously the more that your parents expose you to things that they enjoy, and just kind of see how it rubs off on you, they're spending time with you. They're spending quality time with you.
Yeah. And it
So
was,
that, yeah,
yeah,
very different.
yeah, it was
No,
cool too. I'm an only child, so I think it's just a little easier also with one kid to travel.
mm,
So we'd travel for my dad's gigs. If he was playing somewhere fun, the whole family would go. If he was playing somewhere freezing in the middle of the winter, he went by himself. So often we get to see concerts on those trips too. I got to go to California a lot of times as a kid, which is still one of my favorite places to visit. So yeah, I
yeah,
definitely had a nice upbringing. We a middle class family. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had enough, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm never going to be a rich guy, but I got enough to travel and to buy as many instruments as I need, and that's all I need.
yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah,
That's saying a lot, really.
I'm not complaining.
All right, man. Let's move on to the next song, Mr. Brownstone.
Yep.
Let's see. What do I got here? According to Slash from his autobiography, after signing with Geffen, he, Izzy, and Izzy's girlfriend were sitting around Izzy's apartment, cooking up some smack and complaining about junkies, dealers, and even being junkies themselves while jamming, you know. And that's how the song came to start.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't know that one. Yeah, I haven't read Slash's book yet, so there's some of this stuff is good, interesting facts to me.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know enough about each song
Oh, yeah.
specifically, but
And I don't expect you to either. I don't expect you to
yeah,
do as much reading as I
yeah,
did.
no, no, it's great. It's great. I can't wait to read Slash's book.
Yeah, man, you should. It's easy too. It's kind of like Duff's. It's similarly equal, so easy. But so what is the writing process like for you and Slashers?
So, like I said, the first couple songs were all Blake and Shane wrote everything, like the first like five or six. Then I came on. I could write my own bass line. It's not too tricky for me to figure out some basic stuff. And then once I have the basic stuff figured out, to embellish on it. Most of the first record, though, I'd say Blake wrote a good chunk of that. With me writing my own bass lines, Paco, Jamie, we call him Paco sometimes, writing his
Hmm.
own lyrics. But on this new album, it's a real team effort. So on this, right now, out of 10 songs for the new one, I wrote two of them. Blake wrote three of them. Jamie wrote the other two. Like we're adding up together now.
Yeah.
And like I said, I hope we do more of that where we can get in the room together. Um, I historically was in heavier bands than this, usually more like metal themed, metal-ish bands. So,
Hmm.
but I've always liked this kind of music. Skate punk has always been like No Effects and Propaganda are two of my favorite bands of all time. But I never found the right people to play that kind of music with. So when
Yeah.
we started Slashers, I wasn't like in that mindset of writing songs like that. Now that we've been a band for a while, those riffs seem to come off my hands a little bit easier, and I'm
Yeah.
able to write more riffs. And not everything I write is golden, so we'll workshop it, and I'll come in with a riff, and someone will be like, "That's awesome, let's make it a song," or someone will be like, "That we're not using that." And okay, and no one's feelings are hurt,
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
there's something that you're like, "This is amazing, we must use it." If they
Right.
don't want to use it, I'll use it for a different project and change it up a little bit.
Right.
So I think it's just a team effort. And that is definitely what I'm looking forward to. Also, writing with Ziggy, we haven't done that yet, really. So the new
Mm,
songs will take on a little bit different of a shape because he's a different player than Shane was. So
sure.
definitely looking forward to writing more. I love writing music. To me,
Yeah.
that's, I forgot who said it. Duke Ellington? I don't know who said it. Two kinds of music, good music and bad music. I don't know if it was Duke Ellington, but that's it. So it's either a well-written song or it's not. And I
Yeah.
try to pride myself, and so do Slashers, on well-written songs.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so you were saying that so the new record, like, you have a couple that on there. So are you actually bringing like finished songs to the band, or you just
One of
bring the
them,
major idea?
one of them was kind of finished, and then maybe we changed one thing to it, and then one of them was like a verse or just a riff, and then I say, here,
Hmm.
take a listen to this riff and workshop it, and then maybe Blake goes home and like adds a solo to it, and then
Sure.
you put some more parts to it.
So
So
it
a
is.
little,
So it's collaborative. Yeah.
yeah, it's collaborative. This new record's going to be very collaborative. So I think it'll sound, even the 7-inch sounds a little more mature than the first album.
Hmm.
I'm not in love with the recording of it. It's fine, but it was originally just supposed to be a demo, and then we ended up pressing it. But if you hear the difference, the first album's really good production wise. The second album, which is the 7-inch, the vocals are way more intricate and way more layered. And I
Hmm.
think we're going to really focus on that as vocals a lot more, a
Hmm.
lot of background vocals and 3-part harmonies and stuff like that. Kind of like uh, Queen-esque kind of stuff, which is I refer to Queen a lot because they're also another one of my favorites.
Yeah, of course. They're great.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, let's move on to the next song, Paradise City.
Yeah, the end of side A. So I look at this
Oh,
album as a tape, and I still have the original tape. I have it on
yep.
my dresser over there, the one I bought. So I guess when it came out, probably came out on vinyl as well. I wonder if it was split 6 and 6, probably. Um,
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
but yeah, Paradise City. What a way to end a side one.
I mean, just that song itself, I mean, is just fucking incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, I like, yeah, listening to the whole album, I guess. I mean, ending that side. I listened to it digitally recently,
Mhm.
the past few weeks, so
Sure.
I wasn't necessarily getting that break.
Yep.
But I can imagine how, yeah, just ending that side with it. I mean, especially, if you're listening to it on vinyl, especially, it's very common for people to listen to records that, you'll just one side is your favorite side. So this would be my favorite side, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be tough for me to choose a side. I don't know which side I would choose. They're both equally as strong for me. But yeah, I mean, this was a party song. I heard the song and I was like, again, too young to understand what like a party really was. But I mean, even now, Paradise City, you hear that and it's like just the beginning drum beat. It's like, the song right away. You can like name that song in 2 notes.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a party song. You hear that, you're like, all right, like get me in a bathing suit and give me a beer.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
how I feel about it at least.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Trust me, man. Fucking, it's just such a great song. Famously written by the band collectively on the way back home from Seattle after the one and only show they did on their first tour, aptly called Hell Tour.
Okay. I do know that Duff is from Seattle.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yes.
I don't know if that had any. So
Oh yeah.
their first
He
tour was only one show.
well, because it was Duff's idea to go on tour as a brand new band.
Yeah,
Like they didn't
yeah,
have record out. They didn't have management, nothing. So this was like a totally DIY punk tour. And that's Duff's ethos because he was from Seattle and he actually had already been playing in like punk bands in the Seattle
yeah.
area.
10 minute warning, I think was the name of the band, right?
Yeah, and
Which
he
was a
played a
pretty
little
well
bit.
known band. Yeah,
Yeah, and he played with the Fastbacks for a little bit
yeah,
and another band called the Veins, I think. So he had the most experience, as far as being like a working musician was
yeah.
concerned. So he booked that tour and there was a few dates going up to Seattle and then like work their way back. And it's aptly titled the Hell Tour because the they were leaving LA and like literally like broke down like barely outside of the city walls, like the city border.
Yeah, I think I
Like
remember
and
that
they were only
story.
a few hundred miles away maybe, like tops. And so they actually hitchhike up to Seattle and so they missed
Amazing.
all their dates. Hitchhiked
But
to Seattle. They made it somehow. They got picked up by some speed junkie
I remember
trucker.
that story, yeah, in the book. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
wild.
yeah. It was amazing. But so yeah, it was so like it was an amazing lightning caught in a bottle moment. I'd say. Have you ever had a really horrible tour or a horrible experience?
Slashers hasn't. Like, knock on. I'll find some wood somewhere. We have not really had any major catastrophes yet. I wouldn't say every show is perfect. We've definitely had some broken gear on stage here and there, which usually doesn't really hinder the performance. Usually, we end up like getting the crowd to do something fun while we take a 5 minute break to figure something out.
Hmm.
We've never had like a show. I want to say we haven't really had any canceled shows, or this has been
That's good.
been a very lucky band as far as that goes. We've had some pretty wild moments on stage for sure, but I wouldn't say any catastrophes.
Well, good.
Uh, I have had that in other bands I've played in. Prostitution's definitely had some catastrophes, and
Sure, sure.
I've played some unsavory shows before. But for the most part, I think maybe because we're all a little bit older, also everybody, there's not in this band there has not been a case of anybody being too drunk to play. Where one
Yeah.
person's like sloppy and you're like, what the hell is happening? Like, so no one's doing that. Everybody shows up and does the right thing. There are things that are out of our control.
Sure. Right.
But for the most part, we've been quite lucky, and I hope that that continues.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so just quickly, do you have a shitty story from prostitution?
I'm sure I do. I have one from Beast Modulus. I would like to share that
Okay, sure.
one. Sometimes alcohol is a problem with people, and while he's still a very good friend of mine, our singer and our guitarist, we were playing a show at this place called Matchless, and our singer and our guitarist were quite drunk. And in the same show, the guitarist in the middle, I'm like watching him and I could see his brain just like slowing down and not working. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. And in the middle of the song, he just puts his hands up in the air and he's like, I don't know the song. And I was like, is this really happening? He gets his composure. We start playing again. The same set. Our singer goes into the crowd to sing and get the crowd riled up. And while we're playing, he stops and turns around and starts watching us play. And I'm looking at him, and there's no connection between what he's watching and what he thinks he's doing. And for a brief moment, he thought he was at a concert watching a band. He didn't realize he was in the band singing. He was watching us. He was like, this is a good band. And I was like, what's happening? Oh my God. And you could see other people being like, oh my God, he thinks he's at a concert. And then he like snapped out of it and he was like,
It's like,
and
I'm
then
a
got back
singer.
on stage. That was I will never forget that. That was wild stuff. So that was definitely and no harm, no foul. Nobody got hurt. Everything was fine.
Hmm.
But I will never let that happen again, as long as it's under my control.
Yeah.
To as far as what I could do, I can't control what other people do. In slashers, we kind of have an unsaid rule, like after the show, do what you got to do and have some fun, but don't get on stage drunk. You can have 2 drinks and be fine,
Right.
depending on who you are.
Sure.
I'm fine with 2, but don't have 6 drinks and get on stage and be sloppy. Don't do that because it's not cool for the show. It's not cool to do it to your bandmates. So
Right.
don't do it. And 2 of the guys are sober in the band anyway, so that
Oh,
alleviates that problem.
yeah.
And then the other, me and Blake, we're responsible when it comes to it. So
Yeah.
hopefully this tour all goes off without a hitch. We've never. I think there was one show in not New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, where we played a show with some good old boys who definitely did not like our flamboyant attitude.
Yeah.
Where we kind of act like funny and silly sometimes, and they were kind of like a little mad about it, and like we
Right.
thought there might be a fight, but there wasn't, and it was all fine. And
That's good.
then we played New Orleans and Mardi Gras the next day. That was a pretty fun tour. That was like a southern tour. Southern
Yeah.
tour.
Sounds great. Yeah. Mardi
Yeah, it's
Gras
pretty.
in New Orleans.
It
Awesome.
was it's pretty wild. Although Mardi Gras was in Alabama apparently first. In Mobile, they will tell you that they invented it. They had the first Mardi Gras, and
Hmm.
New Orleans stole it.
Oh,
But I'm
okay.
not getting involved in
They
that
got
because
bragging rights. Okay.
I'm a
That's cool.
northerner, so I'm not getting involved with that.
It's like, I don't care, man. Hey, you both throw a great party. That's
Yep,
all I'm here
yeah,
for.
yeah. To go slushy margarita stands. Let's go.
Yeah. They'd have a drive-through. Come on. What the
I
fuck?
know, that's crazy.
This is
That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's as crazy as it gets. It's
A
just like, yeah,
drive-through
give me
margarita.
an alcoholic drink while I'm driving. Like,
That's wild. Yeah, that is wild.
all right, let's move on to the R side of the record. Next song is My Michelle.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is probably not probably definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. Prostitution actually covers this song.
Oh, okay.
We'll play it live
Nice.
sometimes. Uh, this one's cool, really melodic. We covered also because I can sing this one. Really, it's in my range. But I love that opening picked out progression.
Hmm.
And then the way the bass line comes in, it's just such a cool song.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good one.
sure is. Lyrically speaking, questionable.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, so from what I read, it's a very truthful tale based on a girl Axel had been dating at the time. And oddly enough, Michelle has been very openly appreciative of the attention that the song brought to her.
Okay. I mean,
Wild.
why not? Why not? I guess got to be famous for something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, this was released in what, 87? So I mean, like
Yeah,
the whole thing about like I was just starting to watch that movie last night, Not Okay.
I don't know.
It's like brand new. It's on Hulu. It's essentially about a influencer, online influencer, person, big, huge online profile, so semi-celebrity type thing,
Uh,
and just ruining her life. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but it looks like it gets pretty bad, pretty
okay.
murky. But it's essentially about this woman who wanted attention, as like everyone does. That's why everyone has social media, right? So, but going to such depths that she just is hated instead of admired.
Mhm.
But that's okay because it still gets the views, still gets the likes and all that
There's
stuff.
no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, but it reeks of this modern way of life and
oh
modern
yeah,
entertainment.
oh yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know. It's a little
pe-
strange.
no, people think a like is more valuable than actual friendship. So
Right.
it's definitely something that I try to talk to my students about just real life. I mean,
Right.
I like it. Social media is fun. I posted a picture today. It's fun stuff, but
Yeah.
it's fun. It's not supposed to be. It's not reality. It's
Right.
it's something else. So you got to live your life and like feel. But
True, true. Yeah. And especially the kids. I mean, like I have kids. I have kids that are 14 and
yeah,
12. So I mean, like I
okay.
understand, the kids on devices and having access, which that's something I'm trying to curb them from. I'm not allowing them to be on social media yet. And I don't really want them to be
Hmm.
honest, because it's such an unhealthy environment for a developing mind, and,
It is.
so do you see anything like that with the kids that you teach?
I do. Yeah, they're obsessed. When we grew up, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And then the first thing I guess I used was MySpace. And I was like,
Right.
okay, it's fine.
Oh,
And then Faith,
Friendster. You didn't
and
do
then
Friendster?
never had friends, sir. I never also never had an AIM address.
An
Uh,
email address?
an AIM. What is it?
Oh, America Online.
Yeah, never
Yeah, yeah,
had
yeah.
the original like messenger one. Never did that.
I
I
never
didn't
got a
really.
computer in time. I didn't have one of
Neither
those.
did I. I didn't have a computer growing up at all. My parents had one, and I was just like, "What is this stupid thing?" I didn't really start using a computer until after college,
Yeah.
um, when I started teaching. But yeah, then it was Facebook and Instagram, and I'm guilty like anybody else, where I catch myself spending a little too much time on social media, and I'm
Right.
like, what am I doing? I should be practicing guitar or like talking to a friend or just reading a book or something else
Right.
like that. But it is fun. I like Facebook for letting people know about shows, and setting out
Right.
invites and stuff like that, or someone's birthday, happy birthday, quick and easy.
Right.
It's nice.
Yeah.
But it is a problem, where kids are spending way too much time on their phones. Adults too are spending too much. I yell at my dad for spending too much time on Facebook. I'm like, go practice your instrument. He's like, I practiced for 6 hours. I'm like, well, fine.
Right.
All
No, you're
right,
good.
fine. You win. Yeah,
Post whatever you want.
he'll practice. He'll tell me he's practiced for 4 hours and it's only like 10 a.m. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, he's he's a
Nice.
machine. He's a machine, and that's why he's that good.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I have students who are glued to their phones, and even in the classroom, they're allowed to have phones in the classroom now because of the last mayor, who's
Hmm.
an idiot, De Blasio. Just talking about shitty politicians here. He wanted his son to have a phone in high school on his senior year, so they changed the rules, and kids are allowed to have phones in class without, and we technically can't take them away. So I'll
Hmm.
have kid like spend the entire period on TikTok. You can give them like punitive like punishments from life for like takes all points off their average. But if the kid doesn't care, he's just sitting there
Right.
watching like TikTok videos or like fighting on like whatever
UFC.
platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever platform they watch it on. So yeah, it's
Weird.
definitely. Yeah, I wonder what like I'm sure there'll be something newer because Facebook's already like kids don't care about Facebook anymore. That's for like an older generation.
Yeah.
So
Old
eventually they won't
people.
care about Instagram, and then I guess TikTok and the other thing. What's the other thing? There's something else that people care about now. I don't know.
Snapchat.
I think that might be done already.
I don't use it. I don't
I
know.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Tick,
I still hear mumblings of it every now and then when I go out.
yeah,
So it's like, I'll
but
Snapchat you. It's just like,
yeah,
please don't.
it.
Just don't.
Please don't. It can be for fun. I love stupid cat videos. Love my cat. There she
Yeah,
is.
of course.
So I
Sure.
like to watch like stupid animal videos. But
We all
just
watch stupid shit at some point, at least
of
for a
course,
little bit.
yeah.
We
And
all allow it.
it is cool because information spreads so fast on it. So you can like find out about a new band or someone
Oh
posts a
yeah.
cool music video. So there are good situations with it, but for the most part, it's got to be you got to let it go a little bit, I think.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with you, man. Definitely take breaks. Let's move on to the next song. Actually, Think About You. I kind of wanted to skip.
Okay, it's yeah. You know what? Everybody wants to skip that song because it's the one weird track on the album. I
It's the
like it, but
lovey-dovey track.
it's the ballad track.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it probably got the least attention. Maybe anything goes too, but something about "Think About You." Everyone's like, it's a nice song, but yeah, we can skip
Yeah,
it.
I think Anything Goes is a little bit like weird, kind of like bubblegum pop type-ish.
Yeah,
Like it's the most similar to that style, like where it's just kind of very sing-songy and chanty and sing-alongy.
yeah. They kind of have some of their songs have almost like a southern like country twang to them, almost
Oh yeah.
like a Skinnerd kind of vibe, which I'm not really into that kind of music. But
Axel was a Skinner
yeah,
fan.
I know he is. Well, I think that's where it comes from because he's got that
Oh,
like
he's from
anything
Indiana.
goes.
That's right.
Right, he's from Indiana,
Yeah.
Lafayette, Indiana, maybe. I think,
I'm not
which
positive,
I,
but probably.
which I believe is no. Michael Jackson was from Gary, Indiana. Might Axel might have been too, or maybe he was from Lafayette. I'm not sure, but they're pretty impoverished
Yeah,
areas
sounds
of the
familiar.
Midwest. Yeah, it's not the best. But let's skip Think About You. But it is a good song. I do like that one. But
Yeah, yeah, it's not bad. Because
yeah.
I sometimes ask questions based on the lyrical content, and I was just like, I'm not asking anything about this.
Okay, cool. Moving on. Moving on.
So, but then we have to talk about Sweet Child of Mine, I guess.
Which I could do.
All right. Don't worry,
So
we'll stay away from the girlfriend thing because
yeah,
it's essentially a love song,
right. And
essentially.
I do know that it was just the opening riff was just something that Slash would practice
Hmm.
in. It was just like a scale. It was just like, and then someone was like, "That's a song." So
Yeah.
it became a song based on that opening
Right.
riff, which again has, you can name that song in two notes. You hear it, you're like, oh, that's that song. I think for me, and when I heard it live this summer, I was like, wow, I like this song.
Right.
But that's if I was going to skip one song on the album, that's the one I usually skip because I've
I
just heard it so many times.
I've already skipped Think About You. I can't now.
Yeah, can't skip this one. Yeah, I can only skip one. But
No,
it is,
actually, no, we'll
yeah,
skip another one too, actually, later on. But
okay. But that's, I mean, it's probably their biggest hit. I would say I don't know
it
numbers
is their
wise,
biggest
but I
hit.
would say that probably has the most. But I think it's also because Cheryl Crow covered it. And
No, I
oh,
don't think that
look,
has anything to do with
got a
it.
cat.
Whoa, look at that pussy.
We got a cat. She's not that
Handsome.
friendly. Say hello, Marceline.
Is that a girl?
It's a girl. She's
Does she
named
have
Marceline.
does she have pink front paws too?
She does. She's cute. Stand
Yeah.
there.
I have a little girl cat and she's so cute because she's so female and like dainty, like little pretty pink paws
Yeah.
and she's got a little face, little like kind of cute face, compared to the
Same.
boy, which is her twin. Looks
Oh,
just like
really?
her, but he's got the dirty brown paws, he's got a dirty brown nose. Like he's just a nasty dude, you know?
Yeah, she's my kitty, but she could be friendlier. But she's gonna be 4 soon, and we'll have to throw a little party when I get back from tour.
Nice. All right. Well, Sweet Child of Mine. I guess that's your sweet child.
That's correct.
I have a couple sweet children. Um, what was I gonna say here? Oh yeah, yeah. So well, you know the story about how it came to be. It's kind of like, Slash's fingering warm-ups
Yep.
essentially that he was
Yep.
doing. So how of your catalog, have there been any surprising accidents such as this, like music-wise, that kind of came up?
For slasher stuff,
Yeah, like well,
or just
writing anything even. Like
yeah, I think so. I mean, for my writing process, either a song takes me 10 minutes to write or like 3 years. It's either sometimes I'll just pick up the guitar and I'm like, oh, that's the song, or I
right.
play one thing, I'm like, there it is. And then sometimes I just struggle to like, especially with lyrical content is really important to me.
Hmm.
And I'll spend years trying to like fix 2 words of a song because I'm like, it just doesn't work, and I put it down and I pick it up. Um, but yeah, I'm sure there's definitely some happy accidents in there. I'm trying to think, like with my solo stuff, which I go in and out of waves of having like really good productive writing sessions, and then sometimes I'm like, I can't write anything. But
Right.
lately it's been working. I'll go through like a period of like, whoa, I just came up with like 3 new songs, and then I'll go through a year of like, what am I doing? Why can't I come up with anything new?
Hmm.
So I'm trying to think of a specific. riff that is nothing's coming to mind this second, but
All right.
Slashers has one song, Stranger Things, that's very riff oriented. And I think that was just something Blake played one day and we were like, that's a song. And it's literally, the song is verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It's our shortest song. I think it's like a minute, 40 seconds.
Mm.
And it's just like something you would noodle around on a guitar with and you're like, oh, that's it. Okay, great, done. But sometimes simple is good and you just leave it alone. You
Yeah,
write
of course.
something and you go, not everything has to be an opus that's like,
Well, you're also playing punk music. I mean,
right, exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I think a good
this,
long punk song can work, but yes,
yeah, it
sometimes
depends.
straight to the point, uh, hit it hard, and then move on to the next thing.
Exactly. All right. So the next song is "You're Crazy."
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna skip that one.
Okay,
I didn't have any good information about that song, and it's only all right. You're Crazy. I
it's
don't
all
really,
right. It's all right. Yeah, it's
yeah.
all right.
Actually, okay. Well, so we'll move on to the next song. Anything Goes.
Uh-huh.
All right. So because this is another song that another one that I don't really have anything for. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like there's not a lot that they mention in the books about this song. There's not a lot I could find out about, the how it was kind of created. But it has been said that the cassette and the vinyl releases of this album had the A and B sides replaced with the G and R sides, both to represent the band, as kind of like using the band's initials. But also, some people have said that it's could be based on like a kind of not a concept, but like a theme record. So the G side is the gun side, and that would be the more harder edged
Mm-hmm.
hard rock, just balls to the wall and like fucking sex, drug, rock, roll side.
Yep.
And then the B side is the Roses side, and that's the more
Mm.
kind of like, I don't know, ballad heavy love songs
I'd
and
never
so
heard of that,
forth.
but that totally makes sense. I'm looking at the track listing right now. Uh, that totally makes
Yeah.
sense. The first
Some
side's
some is
definitely way
some is dirty
more.
love. Some is certainly dirty love, but it's definitely love.
Yeah, yeah. Well, love comes in many forms. As
Sure.
long as long as it's not too as long as it's not violent,
Yes, as long as
then
it's,
yeah,
mutual,
consensual. It
consensual.
can't be violent even as long as it's consensual
Exactly.
violence.
As
Yes,
long as you're asking for it,
that's
you can
right.
get choked.
Then you can get it. That's right. That's right. That is right.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, so I've been is that what you consider this song to be? I guess it's just a, love song.
Yeah, and I mean, if we were talking like as long as it's consensual, anything goes. Then exactly, anything goes
Right.
tonight. Right,
Yeah, I mean this one's
your way, my way. Anything goes tonight.
right.
Right. That's basically it says it all right there.
Sure does. And then you get to hear it all on the next song, Rocket Queen.
So this is the one, right? And this is the one where I said I must listen to the whole album because I heard the moaning
Yeah.
in there, and I was like, "What is happening?" And I didn't. It wasn't like a was worried for somebody. I was like really intrigued. Again, I was probably too young to understand why I was intrigued.
Right.
And I'm not going to say like I felt something move in my pants because at 8, I don't think that's happening yet. But I definitely remember being like, "I like this, and I don't know why." And that
Yeah.
song is also really cool too because it's almost 2 songs in one. It's got that kind of like reprieve at the end that goes into like the second half of the song. It's a pretty
Mm.
long song. Yeah, it's
Six
over six
minutes,
six
13
minutes long.
seconds.
Yeah, which is a
Yeah.
pretty long song. And like the last 2 minutes is a whole different chord structure. It's almost a different song. So I
Right.
wonder actually how they wrote that. But there's also which is something I don't usually like in music. I think there's like a bunch of flanger uh,
Yeah.
on his voice or like a phaser
Okay.
on over the chorus. And at the time, I wouldn't have been able to call that out. But I remember hearing it and being like, "Wow, that's different." I was like, maybe the first time I ever heard like a phaser sound being used because I
Right.
had already understood what, to the best of my ability at that age, but I already understood what like a clean tone versus a distorted tone was because of my dad.
Right.
And because of other stuff he played, I knew that there was like a crunchy sound and like a regular guitar didn't make that sound. You had to plug it in and, hit a pedal or something.
Right.
But then I heard like the phaser over the voice and I was like, what is that? And then I heard the moaning and I was like, what is that? But it's very and like an operatic song. I find the last song on an album, I find, obviously when you put an album out, you have to decide what order the songs are going to go on. You could have amazing songs, but if they aren't fluid. I always find the last song on good albums to be very like soap operatic. like
Yeah.
almost like a end of the story, like
Right.
soap opera, like dun dun dun.
Multiple
And
movements and
right,
like, you know, this
and
big
this
finale.
this one's got it. There's a band that I really like called Placebo. They're one of my favorite bands, and
Okay.
to me, their last song on all their albums is always like the perfect last song. I'm always like, what a good choice. And the fourth song usually on an album is usually like one of the most aggressive songs. Like take Master of Puppets, which I believe is the fourth track on that, and Ride the Lightning. I can't remember what's the fourth track, but it's also like
Yeah. All right.
super aggressive. So
Sure.
don't remember what the fourth song on the Slashers album is. I think it's Snotty.
Hmm.
I don't
I
know.
couldn't tell you.
I
You know better than I
don't
do.
obviously I don't. That's how much I listen to the records. You know,
Oh yeah.
when you're in the band, you're not like listening to your own records.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, Rocket Queen is really, it's so hard to say like the best song on the album.
It's interesting. It definitely is
Yeah,
intriguing, you know, especially to a little kid like you when you're listening
yeah,
to it. Because, like, you know, just talking about the sex sounds for first a moment.
yeah,
Because I just think it's funny. Like you mentioned this to me before, and I've been thinking about it. It's just like, does everybody kind of like instinctually, like even as a little kid that doesn't know anything about sex, like like when you hear it, you know what it is. First of all, oddly enough, you know what it is, and then secondly, is it always a turn on? Like is it always been like really intriguing, like whoa, like why do I really want to hear this more? Like why am I so intrigued by it, you know?
yeah. I guess everyone's different. I mean, we are all animals, so
Hmm.
it is innate in us in some form.
Is it
Uh,
almost like a like an animal mating call that we're hearing? We're
I'm
just like, holy fuck, wait, someone's fucking.
probably. I mean, that's what an animal would do when you're a little baby kitty or whatever you are. You know, you don't think about it, but then if you hear it, you might be like, maybe I want to do that one day.
Yeah.
And also, I guess you know, animals aren't mean like humans. So if you grow up in a weird household and you look at sex as a bad thing, and you hear that, that could be very scary. You could say, "Oh, I don't like that," because it sounds like someone's being like attacked or something like that.
Right.
I didn't grow up in a household like that. I'm just thinking of, you know, if you were shown wrong behaviors at an early age, where you had an abusive family member or something happened to you, you know, there's crazy stories
Sure.
that people, crazy upbringings that people go through all the time. I hear about wild things from friends or from students. So you might hear that sound and go, "Oh, I don't like that," because it could be very triggering. But
Hmm.
I do think that there's something innate in humans. We're all sexual beings. I mean, I'm sure there's a few asexual people out there, right? Morrissey or something like that. But I think you hear that sound, especially in there, and you know something's going on. And
Right.
that's something I liked. That something I didn't
Oh
know
yeah.
why, but I heard it and I was like, yeah, this is cool. And then I played that album. I'd be amazed if the tape actually works, because I would just listen to that tape over and over and over again. And then it was also kind of a launching point for where I was like, I took ownership of music then, because before that it was kind of everything was shown to me. I was like, here,
Hmm.
listen to this, okay. And
Right.
once I bought that, I was like, oh, I can choose the music I listen to. Oh, I can go out and buy something. Maybe it'll be as good as this. And like,
Oh yeah.
it,
That's so
it
liberating, right?
it really wasn't. I think, I mean, I don't know what the thing I bought after that was. It was probably something in that vein.
Yeah.
Trying to think, when did Injustice come out? It was
Oh, I don't know.
probably, I think that was like 89. So maybe something like that, or something
Sure.
like that. But yeah, I was also into hip hop as a kid also. I thought that was like, I thought like hip hop, especially like gangster rap, I thought it had kind of like close ties with heavy metal because it was so aggressive.
Hmm.
So we were on I guess I was a little bit older. I must have been like 11. We were on a sixth grade trip to Boston. And I got my hands on an NWA tape.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I probably understood it a little bit more because I was now like 11. This is like 2 years, 3 years after that. But
Right.
still, I definitely did not understand what they were talking about. But I remember it being so aggressive.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, this is metal. Like to me, Wu Tang, their first album, 36 Chambers, which would be, I'm not going to say hip hop's my favorite kind of music, but I would put that album on my top 5 albums of all time list.
Sure.
To me,
Yeah.
that's like almost like, it's so raw. It's almost like a rock album just because of how strong it is in my eyes. So
Yeah. No, I hear
that
you.
album also like was like, so yeah, I think with Appetite for Destruction, once that album like took over me, I was like, oh, I can choose my path now. I can pick and choose what I want to listen to, what I want to be. Well, I'm sure shortly after I got a Guns N' Roses shirt or something like that, which might have been like one of my first like band T-shirts.
Right.
So it definitely shaped what was to come.
Yeah. No, I can tell. I mean, and like, when you were saying, when you were talking earlier kind of about like your initial development in the band Slashers, it made me feel like I was reading that book. Like, I mean, obviously you guys don't get as fucking crazy as Guns N' Roses did, but nobody does. But
Nope,
but
nobody does.
but I mean, but there's also a really amazing spirit of camaraderie that they both, like Duff and Slash, both describe in their books, of just
Yeah.
like this, and in like undeniable and like kind of unintelligible way of like love for a person that like you just don't ever, it's just hard to come by.
Well, it's your brother, and I. This is for me, and Slashers is my newest project. But for me, I could only be in a band with friends. Some people, I'm sure if I was a hired gun for some big band, sure, I'd go out on tour with them and, be
Yeah,
nice to
you
play.
can play with other
I
people,
could play,
sure.
but to really be in a band and to create something and show myself artistically,
Yeah.
it's got to be real friendships, which is something I actually talk to the Slashers guys about because they are newer friends. Prostitution, the guitarist and I, because we're also on our third drummer. Drummers are tough to come by, but me and him, that's my best friend. We've
Yeah.
been friends for 15 years now. We've been Prostitution's been a band for 13 years. Um,
Hmm.
I couldn't spend that much time with someone if I didn't like truly love them. And relationships take a while to form and take different shapes, and that's what Slashers is like slowly becoming. And that's why I'm trying to push for in the fall for us to spend some more time together and not just create musically, but just create a good
Hang.
friendship.
Yeah.
And then because that creates good music, good friendships, and good like love creates positive art.
Absolutely.
You could also make art out of destructive things, but that's usually solo stuff, and that's when you're like mad about someone else. You write a song or create an art piece about someone who did you wrong. But
Sure.
that's where Slasher's lyrics range. I think Jamie could speak more on this, but because he writes most of the main lyrics. I'll write my lyrics, backup vocals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it ranges from like stupid skateboarding lyrics, like we have a song called "If You Don't Skate Now, You Never Did."
Oh yeah.
So, which is
That
kind of
one.
just a joke on like all the kooks who are like, I used to skate, and like,
Right.
well, you still could. But it's in jest. It's not like
There
we're
there
not.
is a culture to skating. I mean, that
Yeah,
doesn't it makes a lot of sense, you know?
yeah. We're not trying to point fingers and single people out. I also believe whatever makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting someone, go do it. If for in the '90s growing up, like if you or not '90s, whatever it was, if you rollerbladed, people would be like, "Oh, you're a real stupid rollerblader." You know what? I don't care if you're a rollerblade, if you're on a unicycle, if you like, walk miles on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes you happy and it's not hurting anyone else, go for yours. Like, do it. So,
Yeah, man.
and I think everybody in the band kind of feels that way. It's just like about having fun. And then some of the lyrics are a little bit more honest, especially in the new on the 7-inch, the song "Hang On,"
Mm-hmm.
which is just about hanging on to your friends and looking out for each other. Because over the past couple of years, we've all lost some people who are close to each other
Oh yeah.
through. The older you get, it doesn't get any easier. Disease. I just lost a really,
Right.
really good old friend to suicide about a
Oh, I'm
month and a half
sorry.
ago. Yeah, it was a tough one. And this will continue to happen because life
Yeah.
is fragile and no one lives forever.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
We've lost a few over here too
I'm
in
sure
Providence. Yeah.
I know you have, and I'm sorry about that. And hopefully, you live long enough to see your friends die, and your family die. That's life is kind of weird like that.
Yeah.
But we all have an expiration date. But when it happens early, it's tragic. I'm lucky I still have
Yeah.
both of my grandmas are alive. One day they'll pass. It'll be sad, but they'll have lived long lives.
Sure. Yeah.
But so that song "Hang On" is just really hanging on to your friends and letting them know you're there, and like there are other options besides that final one
Right.
because we all kind of went through that recently in different ways. It's been a tough 2 years, and I think COVID and the pandemic also pushed some people over the edge
Oh yeah.
uh, with before they might have been able to handle it, and
Mental
change it.
stability, man.
It changed the world, and not in a good way. And especially, I was talking to a friend yesterday about it. Just like some of the, there's always been mental health issues, but we really see them now, especially in New York City. I mean, it's getting a little crazy out there.
Mm.
Um, And I feel for people. I've been fortunate to have a good upbringing and to have a good support system. Not everybody is that fortunate. And I see that through teaching. I have students, they live in shelters and they don't have one person who just tells them, you got this.
Right.
So it's tough. So you got to hang on to your friends and be a good person.
Yeah, man. I hear you. Hey, well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, man. This is fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad we could make it happen. I just want to talk really quickly about your tour, man. You're
Of
leaving
course.
like August 4th, is it? Or is that your
Yeah,
first date?
yeah. First date's here. I'm gonna read off some fun facts about the tour real fast. I just pull it up. I gotta pull up the post.
All right.
But yeah, we're out August 4th. We're playing here
New York.
in New York. It was supposed to be in Jersey. That got canceled. So I tried to salvage a show, and I did. We put on really fun shows at home because this, again, it's our hometown, and everybody knows that. So that'll definitely be a party. So then the next day we're heading out to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is like mid PA. Then Pittsburgh, which is going to be really exciting. We're playing a skate park during the day, and then a heavy metal coffee shop at night that's throwing this big festival.
Nice.
Then a bowling alley in Youngstown, which is Ohio, which is like Columbus, I believe.
Yep.
Then somewhere random in Michigan between Detroit and Ann Arbor. That's a skater-owned bar. So a lot of these places we're going to, we know through the skate community, and we don't know anybody in Melvindale, Michigan, but I put out a post, hey, looking for a show in Detroit, and someone, and this was why social media can be good.
Yeah.
On Facebook, someone was like, hey, my skater friend owns a bar in Melvindale. I reached out to them. They were like, let's do it.
Nice.
Then we're on to Milwaukee, which I have some really good friends there. Chicago, Indianapolis, Columbus, Cincinnati, Louisville. We're playing this crazy house in Atlanta called the Catacombs that we did play one time. And there was like 350 young punks like shaking the house down. It was wild. So,
Whoa.
It's hard to replicate things, but hopefully we can do that.
Sure.
We're playing a cool record store in Asheville, North Carolina, which I've never been to, so that'll be cool. And in Richmond, our final date that we didn't have, we just booked a skate park in Baltimore. Then we're playing in DC, and then our final show is back in New York again on a boat.
Nice.
So our buddy Jeff, who for 20 years has this company called Raised Fist. Skateboarding, clothing, promotions, and stuff like that. He sets up a boat show every year and rents out this boat, and it fits about 100 people. I think there's only about 30 tickets left. And it will set sail around Manhattan and see the Statue of Liberty while playing some punk, dock. And then 2 hours later, I get on a flight to go to Hawaii for 10 days. So I will be gone after Thursday, all of August.
Damn, man.
Then come back and the school year starts. So it's going to be a good summer, a busy summer, and can't wait to spend this time bonding with the band. Like I said, I really was thinking about that whole salesman thing where it's like, we're going door to door, we're going city to city to knock on your skate park and to say like, come hang with us. And the only way to gain fans and momentum is to go through it. We're not, young pop stars. We're going to put the work in. Yeah. And we usually get the results. We've been to California a bunch of times, and every time we come home, we get all these new fans, and people are like, when are you going to come back? We're like, we will when we have time. It takes a little bit. It takes some money. It takes time. I'm lucky that the band will revolve their schedules around me.
Yeah, well, it works out. You have the whole summer off. I mean, it's a great time to tour.
Whole summer off paid. So I went to the Met today, and I was like in there. I was like, I'm getting paid to be here and eat chocolate. This is pretty sweet life. So I'm pretty happy and very fortunate. And I want to say thanks to you, but also thanks to my bandmates for giving me the chance to live out a pretty fun dream.
Yeah, man. Sounds great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is super cool. Hope to see you in Providence soon, or come down to New York and hang out.
I'm obviously not going to see you for a while, but yeah. Next time you're coming through Providence, for sure, I'll try to come down to New York. I definitely have to go. I've definitely been jonesing. Into the city, man.
It's pretty fun, and there's something going on every night, a concert or this and that.
I know, that's what I miss.
I know you'll get there, but you got a family to raise, and you're the man. You're doing a good job. So
cool, man.
I appreciate your time. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate you, man.
Cool, man.
And best of luck to you on tour.
Thanks so much. We'll see you when we get back.
All right, man. I'll see you
All
then.
right. Peace.
Bye.
Later.
Is everybody having fun? 'Cause I'm not, each day closes in. I'm going back, the world turns patiently. I missed the ride, somebody pick me up. I'm stuck, groundhog, another spin.
Final Envision is a second static production. Theme song written and performed by Jeff Robbins of 22 the Astronaut.